Hey guys, I'm FatBuddyCat, and this is a down and dirty Z50R. Today, we're going to install the hubs, a sprocket, and about half the brakes. Right off the bat, there is a wider side and a narrower side. What I mean by that is the offset on the rim. There's more on the side that has the valve stem and less on the opposing side. Traditionally, the drum brake goes on this side. This kit, which I'll leave a link in the description for, does not come with the directions. So I referred to a few pictures, I tried to watch a few videos, and we're just going to go with it. It depicts the hub going on this side, and then the rotor connects to that. The caliper goes over the rotor. In the still shot that I saw, the caliper looks like it came in just shy of half the depth of this offset on the hub. So the reason that matters is clearance on the heads on those longer bolts that I used. I think we're going to be alright. Worst comes to worst, we'll let some air out, like all of it, and we'll start one by one turning these around. That way you only loosen one, turn it around, torque it all the way, loosen the other, and so forth. The reason I'm not is because when this is installed, you're going to look at this and the caliper and the fork tube. You're really not going to concentrate on those heads on the bolts. From the other side, where there's not going to be anything there, it looks a lot cleaner. Plus, it's the same as the rear. This kit came with the hardware and all kinds of goodies. Front axle. It actually saves you a lot of time and probably money to just go this route. I have the rotor. Look at that. 3 bolts. They already have our blue Lockian stuff on it. And that's going to go onto this hub. So that we have. What it didn't come with is the 4 bolts that hold the hub onto the wheel. The hub itself is threaded, so all you need is the bolt. Where we replaced the hardware, we gained a little bit from what we were missing from the get-go. So we got plenty of these little guys right here. We just take the nuts off, or grab 4 that already don't have them on because they were missing, and we'll use these to attach the new hub. It'll go on this side, and then I'll be putting my bolts on from that side. If I can get a lock washer, you know I'll add one. Now that the hub is bolted on, we just have to attach that rotor. when you're bringing the bolts home, you can see pretty quickly that the holes themselves that the bolts go through don't really set any type of tolerance. So you just want to be careful and bring each one home so that the head of that bolt sets into the face of that rotor. So this, for example, is something you'd want to be careful with. If you screwed those threads up, you'd want to fix them so that you could use these same bolts. So they have blue Loctite on them. We're not going to be crazy. I'm just going to bring them in so they're tight and let it be. Something I found that works for me is to choke up on my wrench. I really like these ones with the plastic handles. They're just more comfortable and in control, but I can get up there and I'll turn that until it's tight. I'll stay away from this section up here where I'll be applying more of the thunder. On the flip side, we're left with this sort of odd looking end. That odd looking end is going to receive this speedometer gear. This thing came with the cable and everything, so I guess technically we could run a speedometer. I don't think we're going to try to, but we do have the option. I'll get that out and we'll see how it fits. Well, maybe we can do it like this. There it is. It's just a housing with a worm gear in it and another one on this thing. It spins around and then it would spin the cable that goes up and does its thing inside the speedometer itself. It looks like those wings that are on this are going to go in these slots. Somehow. Oh, I see. It's like a seal, so you're going to push this thing down on. Okay, so now I have to figure out top from bottom, or would this spin and then it would stop spinning. I wonder if this thing's just going to flop around. Well, we'll find out. This is kind of ridiculous. It doesn't seal over the top of it. You see how it kind of seems like it clicked down, but it really didn't, and it just spins with or without the wheel. That thing free spins sitting on this and then spins that, so you would actually have to have something on the fork that holds that tab right there, so this thing doesn't just let me grab the fork. Yeah, it does. Right there. Big old piton. So that is going to have to line up with this slot when you're putting the wheel on and you're doing your axle shish kebab. When that lines up, it'll set this thing in the upright position, that really controls everything. That eyelet right there is for the hanger that would hold on to the cable, and then it would go up the fork to the handlebars and, you know, your doohickey. I think that sounds a little complicated. So, you know what time it is. Let's modify something. I noticed on the factory hub that you have that strange end on there as well. It's like two peas in a weird pod. So I kept the stock axle, and this was towards the end. There's also a couple rubber seals. Just happened to play around with them, and one of them doesn't really fit. The other one does. When you look at it from the back and you compare that to what's inside here, you can see that it's pretty much made for that. This fits over the bearing, and it lines up with it in a manner that it doesn't interfere with the spinning. So we're just going to push that right down in there. Try to get it straight. I don't think we're in. Okay, cool. And now I'll take this. This is 30 millimeters. This thing is just about 29. I could trim this, and if I have trouble fitting anything in the end, I will, but we're talking real small. Anyways, one side of this fits in that hole. The other side doesn't. This will rest against the appropriate portion of the bearing, and it'll allow everything to spin just as it would from the factory, thus deleting this. So we like that. At this point, that's as far as we can go with the front wheel until we get it on the fork and install the caliper. We're going to move right on to the rear wheel, and I hope you paid attention, because everything I explained that we didn't do on this one, I'm going to do on this one. So all that factory jibber jabber about this going on which side, yada yada yada, I'm going to jump over that. I'm going to get this on. It's actually this one. You can tell there's a considerable difference. You can't attach a sprocket to this. So I'm going to get after it, and I'll see you when it's done. Whew. Glad that's done. That was a hard one. Don't sweat it. All I did was attach the hub to the wheel. The drum is on the side with the valve stem, and the side with the sprocket is over here. What are we missing? Bearings. I'm going to grab those and install them next. Now we're getting into it. I got these bearings on Amazon. They came as a kit for the Z50 rear wheel. It also came with that seal. You got 2 of these and this. It doesn't fit either side. The bearings do. I kept that other rubber that didn't fit on the front. That fits in here. I think that's where it goes. I have this C-clip that went on the front or the back. Here's the rear axle. This is the spacer that has to go in the middle. The front one, the hub, came assembled with the bearings and that piece already in, so this is the difference. I think a clip might hold that in place. Something does. I'm going to get this apart and grab that. And that's about it. I'll push everything else aside. I might need some of these washers, or we might have to make some spacers when we're all said and done. The one that the sprocket goes on is the deeper side. So we'll do that one first. And then we'll feed this in from the other side and set the other bearing. We're going to need something to hit this. We're not going to be able to use my mallet because we'll hit our studs. I don't want to use a hammer and hit in here. We just want to hit on that outside race there. So I'm using what's this one? A 7/8 socket. This may change depending whether it fits down in the hole. As the bearing goes down, this is going to have to go down in too and set it. So as of right now, it only goes down a little bit, but maybe that's all we need. We'll see. I'll start it out anyway. These are used hubs, so before you drop the bearing in, you can get in there and clean it up. A little piece of sandpaper on the end of your fingertip. You're not trying to take anything off besides, any corrosion or leftover dried grease from the guy before. Speaking of, I'm going to take a little bit of my red grease and just put it right around the face of this thing, and then I'll drop my bearing in. Here it is, and start knocking it down with the socket. Yep, I swapped out the 7/8 for a 15/16, something a little lighter duty, but I mean that's perfect. So I'll keep knocking it down until it's set. Yeah, buddy. I don't think it's going to fall out. Now, I'll clean this one up a little. Make sure to blow out any dirt that's in here. You could use a vacuum cleaner too, just as a precaution. Then I'll drop this in, and then I'll place my bearing all cleaned up and greased. Yep. Drop that down in. Little grease. and then I'll set the bearing. Now I think we put that seal right over here. Let's see if it fits. That's where it fits, and that is where it's going. I can still spin things around easily on that side and this side, so not binding up. And the sprocket, yeah, this is definitely going to work. Oh wow, the sprocket only goes one way. It has this recess on the back, so when this sets over that and this is bolted down, then it can't push down on that rubber seal and bind it up against the other things. What we will have to pay attention to is our spacers for the axle itself. Make sure that lines up, probably goes right inside there. I just don't think I actually have one. I have this handful of washers, so now I'm starting to think that was a front wheel bearing kit. The other hub would have been a lot like this one, probably would have had the same bearings, and this just happens to fit right inside. It also works perfectly with our spacer. That thing's snug as a bug, so I'm gonna have to swap that out. This is about as far as we can go anyway. In the rear, I'm going to have to get the correct brake shoes, and well, we're also going to need a fork and a swing arm on our frame. So this is actually a really good thing, because when we finally install these rims, we can knock out the caliper and the drum at the same time. Isn't it nice when things work out? Have a good night, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. I want you to stay. I want you to stay.